I now have the honor of introducing the keynote speaker for this year's College of Science degree celebration, Mr. Walter McLeod. Walter embodies the science spirit we've encouraged you to cultivate. Like some of you in this crowd, he holds a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry and earned his graduate level chemistry degree here at Mason. Walter also completed the executive education program at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. Walter has more than 25 years of experience in business development, strategy, and government relations in the energy and mobility sectors. He's a recognized expert and thought leader in clean tech finance, policy, and development. He's also a visionary entrepreneur with multiple successful startups in the energy sector. Both of our organizations view innovation as being at the core of our respective enterprises, and he will be working with us at Mason to develop energy-focused learning experiences for students here in our College of Science. Walter has served on several boards and advisory committees, and even as a former president of our college's alumni chapter. His entire career has been a testament to the value of innovative thinking and success without limits. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our distinguished alumni of 2022, Mr. Walter McLeod.
Well, good morning to all of you, graduates. You look so young. I remember that feeling. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the leadership of the College of Science because for the past 2 years, they've helped navigate all of you through one of the worst pandemics in the history of this planet. And they were part and parcel to the success of you achieving what you've accomplished today. So let's recognize them for just a second. And then, of course, I'd like to recognize and thank all of you parents, you relatives and friends, children of all ages who are here supporting the hard work and the accomplishments of our graduates as well. Thank you as well. But the main event is seated before me today, right? We want to congratulate you, the Mason Science graduates of 2022. You did it. Yeah, you put in the work and now you reap the benefits. You know, there were some comments made to the general 2022 graduating class of Mason by your current president, Gregory Washington, and I thought that they were fitting, at least part of it, to share with you this morning. So I just want to read a little bit from what he had to say. He said, "You've earned a degree from a university whose campus looks like what America will soon look like, with no ethnic majority. You're accustomed to working and collaborating across cultures and diversity of origin, identity, circumstance, and thought. This allows you to see the world more completely, think more creatively, and examine full truths." That describes you, doesn't it? Especially that first line, that you've earned a degree from a university whose campus looks like America will soon look like. The dean made a comment to this effect as well. You see, George Mason University represents the future. You're one of the most diverse colleges in the United States. You are the most diverse university here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And because of that, and because of the diversity of thought, the diversity of people, you represent America today, tomorrow, and the foreseeable future. And I'm sure you've heard your parents and your abuelas and others over the years telling you, you know, we worked hard to get you to this point. You're the future. We're so proud of you, right? That's what my mom said to me back in 1994 when I graduated, like you, here from George Mason and got my master's degree in chemistry. And you know why they say that? Because it's true. You are the future, and you have so many amazing things that you're going to accomplish and so many amazing opportunities that lie ahead of you. The planet and humanity are on the verge of making another great quantum leap in terms of our civilization. And we see it all around us. We see it in the field that I'm in, which is clean technology and electric transportation. We're going to be driving and moving in a completely different way 10 years from now than we do today. And it will be better as a result. We see it with artificial intelligence. We see it with CRISPR gene editing and how that's transformed healthcare. Space exploration. We've heard a lot about the cosmos, and we'll talk about that as well. Blockchain, and what my kids always talk about, the metaverse, whatever that's going to be, right? Those things are all presented to you as opportunities to engage and to bring your scientific background, your training, to the table as a valuable resource for all. Yet when we look at the public dialogue around science, it's not always positive, is it? Increasingly, we see a lot of vitriol, a lot of discourse that's negative or casting doubt on the belief and the value of science in our society. Two good examples of it are the recent COVID vaccine controversy around science, and of course the ongoing controversy regarding climate change and science. And we'll touch on those a little bit later in our discussion. But ultimately, the way that we address science and innovation, which go hand in hand, is going to affect our entire societies. It's going to affect how we teach our children. It's going to affect how we matriculate students through our university. It's going to affect how we value our public lands and our resources. And it's going to affect the kind of healthcare system that we all will have in the future. So we have to get around this notion that science is just about facts and figures, that all you have to do is memorize a few formulas, and that's the trick of it. There's no trick of it, is there? And you all understand that because you've put in the work and you understand what it means to be a Mason scientist. Now, it was put very well by one of our most beloved scientists, the late Dr. Carl Sagan. Most people remember him for the saying, billions and billions of stars, right? Although he didn't really say that. But nonetheless, he did reveal to us the why behind the power of science. And here's what he said. He said, science is a way of thinking more than a body of knowledge. And isn't that true? Because all of you have been trained and educated as scientists, you understand that science is about the way you think and approach and view life and things in general, right? Science is exhilarating. Science scratches our curiosity. Science is inspirational. And as someone who's been trained as a scientist, just like each of you, I can attest to the truth of Sagan's words as well. Because I was trained as a chemist, I went into Washington, D.C. and practiced public policy, and then shortly thereafter, I ended up being an entrepreneur and establishing a number of clean technology businesses. Now, the reason I was able to do that is because my scientific training, my thinking, has guided me completely on my entire career path. And you will do the same, because you've been trained and hardwired to think like scientists. Now, science has the power to shape the future as we know it, both today and tomorrow, both here on Terra Firma, as well as in the cosmos. And that's why we have a lot of faith in all of you, our future scientists, our Mason scientists, because we know that you are going to make the future world better. You are the future of science. You are the future of our great country. So to look at this a little bit more closely, though, let's start with Terra Firma, the Earth, where we are, right? And go back to the two examples I gave earlier. The first had to do with the existential threat we all faced with the pandemic. And it was mentioned earlier, if it were not for science, for the mRNA vaccines that majority of us have taken wisely because we believe in science, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to gather here today for this grand celebration, would we? You see? It was because of a scientist, a Nobel-winning female scientist named Jennifer Doudna, that we are able to benefit and have peace of mind, despite the fact that this virus is still prevalent in our society today. That's what science does. When it comes to climate change, which is the area I spend most of my time in, we understand the value of science in diagnosing the problem, helping us to understand the time frame we're working with, and find sustainable solutions. Because, friends, regardless of what the naysayers say, climate change is a human problem. It's a problem caused by us largely, and it's a problem that will affect us largely. The Earth will probably be fine, but we need to get our arms around climate because it is a threat to us. And so when we think about the way that man has terraformed this planet, and that we're at a point now where human activities, anthropogenic activities, have a greater effect on the natural cycles of the planet than they do on us, then we understand that we have entered a different epoch. We are in the Anthropocene. That's where we are. And we need to understand the importance of heeding the direction that science gives us. Science is telling us that we need to change our societies, we need to change our values, we need to change our practices so that we as a species can thrive for millennium to come. And so when it comes to you all, as Mason scientists, recognize that through your scientific training and education, your generation will be the one to decarbonize our economy. And you will be the ones discovering the life-changing medicines that will extend human life and eradicate many of the diseases that are common today. Now, I want to shift to the other part of our discussion. I said that science would affect us both here on Terra Firma and beyond. As someone who grew up as a big science fiction fan, I watched a lot of Star Wars, I watched a lot of Star Trek, and recently I watched Dune way too many times with my kids. I do believe that we are on the verge of something very, very special, and it's your generation of scientists that are going to pave that way. We recognize that science is allowing us to look deeper into the cosmos than we ever have before with inventions like the James Webb Telescope. Science has brought us to the threshold of interstellar travel. We think about the billionaires who are seeding this exploration, whether we're talking about going to the moon or going to Mars, but ultimately it's going to be humanity. It's going to be our species that paves that path and that does that exploration. And so that's going to be led by scientists like you, your generation. You are going to pave that future for us. And then, of course, there's the heralded science agency here in the United States that makes all of this possible, NASA. Fittingly, that agency is governed here in the House and the Senate of our Congress by the Science Committee, not the Engineering Committee. No offense to engineers, I love engineering, I use it every day, but you see, our elected officials saw the wisdom of allowing science to guide us as we explore the cosmos. So through science, your generation, you Mason scientists, will chart the galaxy and pave the way to explore the cosmos. But remember, first, we have to get Earth right? We have to make sure that our home planet, Terra Firma, is sustainable before we go down that path too far. So as you consider all the good that science can and will accomplish by means of your cohort, my biggest advice to you is this: always think like a scientist. Always. Stay curious. Always explore, ask questions. You've been taught the process. You know how to do this. You're going to receive degrees that confirm that today. So don't let it stop today. Take it to the next level. Because that's what Carl Sagan was saying when he said that science is more about how we think than about the accumulation of knowledge, right? That's what makes all of you scientists today, and you will always be trained and educated as scientists, no matter what you do with your career. And Sagan was an example of that. When we think about that person, Carl Sagan, he was an astronomer, he was an astrophysicist, he was a planetary scientist, he was a best-selling author, he was a publisher of the most popular, most watched series on PBS, and he was a science communicator. Well, what was he known for primarily, and what gave him credibility to do all those things? He was a scientist, right? That's why people listen to him. See, and it's the same for each of us. No matter what degree you receive today, or whether you go on to become a professor, or a researcher, or an executive, or a public servant, or whatever you decide to do, always remember that inside of you, inside of that success story, dwells a scientist, always, because of what you've accomplished here today. So once again, we want to congratulate you, Mason Science graduates of 2022. We wish you nothing but success in all your future endeavors, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Use a roll call for one time.